Hello guys, in this video we are going to be looking at preloaders using HTML, CSS and a little bit of JavaScript. Before we start, don't forget to follow Jobcity on our pages, which you can find in the description of this video. Alright, let's get started. There is a separate debate on how fast should a website load, but we can all agree that as web grows more complex and modern, the amount of time we users are willing to wait gets shorter. Designers and developers came together way back to find a bit of a middle road to fix the issue of not allowing the website visitors to skip or close the website window, but instead encourage them to wait for a couple seconds until the web page or a specific section loads. In this tutorial, we'll be tackling this issue by getting to know how to create a loader element that scales the full screen of a web page until the content behind it finishes loading. On a website, preloaders are important interface elements that let visitors know that the website hasn't crashed, it's just processing that data. Now there is a slight difference between a normal loader preloader and a full screen preloader. Usually these cover the entire width of the page and the actual loading animation is presented at the center. They can be as simple as this infinite preloader right here, or they can be absurdly complex like this ping pong racket on a sports website. But in our case, we are going to be making this square-like spinner loader that takes the entire of the screen until the content behind it has finished loading. As you can see here, first the preloader animates for a few seconds, and when the content behind it is loaded, it goes away and we can now use the website. A simple concept behind making such a preloader without any external libraries are these three steps. We use the SVG to get the actual loading animation working. It will be a spinner element that animates over a period of time. SVGs are scalable and implementing them is relatively easy. We use CSS to add the styling of our preloader so that it sits perfectly at the center of the website no matter what viewport or size the browser window is. And we use a little bit of JavaScript code to hide the preloader and show the content behind it. Alright, so first thing first, we need some content to work with. I won't be going into detail since this isn't related to this tutorial, and you will find a link in the description of this video with the source code. And if you want to learn a bit more of the CSS and HTML involved in this view, please check out our dark mode using HTML and CSS video, link in the description. Also note that I have provided a free SVG loader animation in the repo, courtesy of loading.io. Please go check them out. As for the actual preloader markup, we need a preloader wrapper class that contains our GIF image, or in this case our SVG. They will help us position the preloader on the page perfectly as we need. So we're going to create on the top of the content, in this case div element, and we're going to give it a class name of preloader. We're going to place our image tag inside of it with a source pointing at our spinner that is provided in the repository of this project. And let's give it an alt tag just for accessibility. All right, let's style our preloader element first. If we look at this point, it just looks like this. So let's refer to our CSS element or CSS file in this project, and let's create a preloader class for the element we just created. So here we use CSS flexbox to display the preloader wrapper directly in the center of the screen with the align items and justify content properties. It looks like this. Flex. Using properties like height at 100 view heights and width at 100%, we make sure that that this element take up the entire height and width of the current viewport. Notice that we have given it a white background so that it matches up the web page actual background color. Along with this, making it a fixed position is crucial because with that, if we scroll, it won't affect the loader's location on the page. The high C index then ensures that no other element would stack on top of our preloader element, blocking it from the view. Finally, we can add a bit of transition and transform on the opacity so that the process of fading in and out can be achieved for a better user experience. You will find links to the respective documentation of these CSS properties in case you want to learn a bit more about them. With these changes, this is how our page looks like at the moment. We can only see the preloader and we don't have access to the content behind it. Okay, at this point, let's say we don't like the fade in and fade out transitions and we want to manually take control of the amount of time it takes for this animation. For that, let's open up the JavaScript file of the current project and let's first grab the preloader element. Now, we will create a custom fade out effect function which is wrapped in setInterval method. This method will call function or execute some code snippet with a fixed time delay between each call. Again, you will find documentation of this method in the description. We check the opacity property every 300 milliseconds to see if it's greater than 0. If it is, then we decrease its value by 0.1 steps. This accounts for a smooth transition effect. Once it hits the 0 opacity value, we call clear interval to stop it from running indefinitely. And lastly, we should not forget to call this function on page load. Okay, so let's try that in our page. And we can see a smooth transition once the content of the page has finished loading. And with that, you got to know how to make a loader without using any CSS or JavaScript libraries. The takeaway of this tutorial is how CSS code is used to center the preloader and how we made it full screen for any viewport. Also with JavaScript, we took it a step further and manually controlled the entire fade out transition. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Please don't forget to subscribe and like and follow JobCity on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook and Instagram.